Oh, that is me. According to that Twitter handle, that is me. I do work for Portola Coffee Lab. It is a mom and pop shop, the SoCo collection, in a place called the OC Mart Mix, which is a makeup of a bunch of mom and pop shops. And our story as Portola Coffee Lab works really well with my personal story when it comes to my experience of being actually a writer and a comedian in Los Angeles for about 6 or 7 years, where I was self-promoting. I was working on Twitter. I was working on Facebook specifically, and then coming down here to Orange County to be able to start a family, marry my now beautiful wife, and try and figure out exactly where my passion for specialty coffee and then also for creative outlets could lead me. And it brought me into this position. And I know that a lot of the times, if anybody has a title as marketing director, that means that they're probably going to have a hyphenated title of 47 other things, which is true for me as well. I am the store operations manager. I am also the marketing director. I also handle all of their classes. I also do the dishes. I sweep the floors, and I love it. I think that it also goes back to the fact that my childhood teachers all tried to be able to diagnose me with attention deficit disorder. But then my mother, of course, responded with, "No, he does not have ADD. We are just so proud of how he's able to move on to the next topic so much quicker than the other children." And it's worked out well for me so far. So when I decided to be able to decided to be able to sit down and really work on this talk, I talked to my twin brother, who's actually a social media consultant. His company is called Red 5 Social. And I talked to my father, who's around here somewhere. He is the man that looks like me, but with a comb over. And I don't know, it's fine. It's an aggressive forehead that my brother and I will get very shortly. And it was such a perfect boil down because my father's done PR for Ford Motor Company for so many years, and my brother is, of course, a social media consultant. So I looked at both of them. I'm like, there's a through line that people need to hear. What could it be? What could it be, something that we could boil down all the efforts that we've had at Portola to be able to make it something that's bottleable, like our coffee, maybe, to be able to take home. And I think that one of the things I'll end up talking about is something called modern-day word of mouth. Everybody who's a mom-and-pop shop has so many excuses, so many thoughts, and whoever's like self-employed, they always say, "I just don't have money. I just don't have time. I don't have the ability to do all these 47 things that you guys are mentioning for us today." And one of the things I'm really excited to talk to you guys about is the lack of budget that Portola had, and then the lack of time that I have during the day, but yet the amount of success that our community has been able to bring to us and whatnot. So, I mean, I really enjoy the things that the Pastor Rick was saying earlier, actually, about the things they value and the things that are unique are the things that people really like to be a part of. And though I'm going to be talking about coffee, it's something that we see everywhere. Everywhere. Starbucks is here, we got Dunkin' Donuts over here, East Coast, West Coast, but like ultimately, it's everywhere. People have been drinking coffee for years. How is what we're doing at Portola so different? And I think that just because of the fact that I listened to what Rick was saying, it reminded me of a quote that I listened to, or that I found in a book a while ago that I used when I was marketing for myself as a comedian, and worried a lot about originality, worried a lot about resonating with people. And the quote is, "Even in literature and art, no man who bothers about originality will ever be original. Whereas, if you simply try to tell the truth," and I'm going to put it by saying, like, whatever that may be, coffee, T-shirts, music, you will 9 times out of 10 become original without ever having noticed it. And so what we do at Portola Coffee Lab, I think, echoes that perfectly, because ultimately this is that thing that everybody's like, "Oh, coffee, I get it. I've had flavor crystals for years, so, I mean, I obviously understand what's going on." But when they come in and they get to talk to us about what we're actually trying to do, about the relationships that we have with these farmers, these families that are in third world countries growing these amazing crops of these coffee cherries that grow in these crazy altitudes, and they hand pick, sort those out, process them, get the seed out from in that fruit there, and then sort them again to make sure that everything that ends up as a green coffee bean is so special and so unique. And then it gets to our shop, and we roast everything in small batches to the point of people would find it ridiculous with the amount of waste that it seems this company is doing just to be able to make sure that this coffee tastes great. We roast it on this level, and this level, and we taste it. And then we decide, oh, that's the one we want to have. All that other stuff that we just roasted, we're not going to use that. And then once we get all of that, we then meticulously brew this coffee per cup. And for anybody that works at Starbucks, that's incredibly inefficient in a lot of people's minds. But to us, it makes so much sense because of the fact that, like, though this particular Kyoto apparatus that we use takes 8 to 10 hours to make a cup of coffee. Don't worry, we don't make you wait for it. It's amazing. And though this espresso machine may not be as efficient as that push-button one that you can push a button and it'll make a cappuccino on the spot, the Slayer espresso machine that we have from those amazing people up in Seattle, it makes an amazing cup of coffee that highlights those relationships that we have had with these farmers and with these people that have been a part of this process along the way. So yeah, it's a cup of coffee, but it's so much more because it means more to us. And so when it comes to resonating and finding an audience for what you're doing, I think that I'll start by saying, before we get into social media, everybody at Portola Coffee Lab believes in what we do. Not because we're trying to be fancier than anybody else, but we're truly chasing excellence. And I'm not saying we are there. We humbly go to that shop and take our Yelp reviews. We take our customer feedback. The people tell us in person who have been regular since the very beginning. We listen to everything that they have to say. And we're malleable. But there are certain things that we will never, ever hold back on. And that's when it's coming to the quality of what we provide, and also making sure that we have this transparent relationship with these individuals that have been a part of this process the whole way. So, all right. When I met Jeff and Krista, it was kind of interesting. The owner's name is Jeff. My name is Jeff. He got married on May 14th. I got married on May 14th, different years. And found out that, like, his story was so similar to mine that it felt like I'm you from the future. And then, but it just ended up being so akin that it made sense. I met him at a farmer's market. He and his wife were selling coffee out of a booth, and I asked him what he was doing, and this is right when I was looking for a new position in specialty coffee, and he's like, we're starting up this shop. He starts describing what they're doing, and I obviously, as you've seen me nerd out now, got really awkwardly excited about it, and I said, let me help you. Please, just let me help you. What do you need? He's like, well, we're not open yet. We don't really need much. I'm like, okay, then give me access to your Twitter account and your Facebook, because I looked them up. They were doing so many things right. They had a Twitter account with over 1,000 followers because they'd utilized the search engine that was, my alarm just came off saying, you're supposed to be speaking now, because I set notifications, but I didn't set it for the right time. Oh, shoot, I'm supposed to be speaking. And so I looked at what they were doing, and they were doing so many things right. They were trying to find people who were into specialty coffee in Orange County, and they were using that Twitter search engine, which, if you ever want to know about it, I know we've talked a lot about the different tools. It's a very good and common one that just look in a particular area for coffee, and then all of a sudden we can talk to all these people about coffee. And they were doing that, but they also were a little bit, they had different representations on Facebook, on Twitter, on Yelp, and other things like that. So all I did for the first 2 weeks that I worked for them for free, because I passionately wanted to see something this awesome succeed, I worked on a WordPress blog site for them with the same logo, and I got their Twitter account to have the same logo. I got their Facebook account to be revamped because we couldn't change the name from their previous business to what it is now, so we had to start Facebook from scratch. And 1 year later, that's where we are right now. This conversation happened a year ago. We're over 3,000 followers on Twitter. We have, if all of you like it in this room on Facebook, we are over 3,000 likes on Facebook. And our Yelp reviews are always a humbling experience, but ultimately we've had so much passionate support. It's been wonderful. Yelp itself, that organization's been great. And we're using Pinterest and Instagram and everything else that you've heard about today to be able to bring this community together of these people that just are nuts about coffee and want to talk about it. And I think that so many people want to be able to have friends vouch for things and whatnot. And so many people are like, oh, word of mouth is the only way that we're going to really grow a business. We don't need a website, we need word of mouth. Modern day word of mouth is done through the internet. It's this internet thing has caught on. It is not going anywhere. And it's been incredibly useful. And I heard a question earlier when it came to, does what you do online translate into sales? And that's the thing that's so tough for somebody who does social marketing to be able to argue or explain, because it is difficult a lot of the time to track unless you have an online store or whatnot. But yes, it does. Measure those amount of check-ins. You can see, like, within that first 2 weeks, the whole reason why I currently work for Portola Coffee Lab is because of the fact that within those first 2 weeks, when we unified that brand and just started developing that community, then they sold more coffee. And I think that that's something that a lot of people who have these small businesses who feel overwhelmed can definitely do. So I think that, is that my time? That's my time. All right, that's my time. Thank you very much.
That's wonderful. Just to demonstrate how passionate I am about this brand, we have a video that will demonstrate why you all must go there. So let's cue up the video. Thank you.
I could have watched more myself, actually.
I know, I'm telling you,
Oh,
like the
love
stuff
it.
that we do there is mind-blowing when it comes to just, because all that you guys were seeing, all that is just espresso and milk. But just when you do anything with care, man, it's going to look awesome.
Yeah, is he passionate? Do you guys love him?
That was a leading question, by the way. That was a leading question.
It sure was.
Yeah.
Okay, questions. Does anyone have a question? I know we do have a lot of small business owners in the room, so now's your opportunity to ask from the source. And we've got our Vanna White over here, so please raise your hand if you have a question for Jeff. We have one in the back here, Kim, too.
Who did your video?
A gentleman by the name of Jacob. We'll post actually a link on our Twitter account in just a little bit. He's this very talented local guy that was one of our regulars, and same kind of thing. He just approached us, he's like, I love what you do. Let me make a video, please. And we're like, aight. And then so he did it. And it was awesome. It was just one of those things that, and it's the same, we have a great relationship with our now graphic designer who just was a regular, who's like, please let me help you. Like, because we kind of did some help with some menus. And it's the same kind of thing. But I'll post it on Twitter in just a little bit.
Terrific. Up in the back.
Can you talk to any promotions or things that you ran on Facebook or Twitter that drove people in at a specific time or?
Yeah, actually, that's a really good question. Because what we do at Portola is so uniquely, well, it sounds a little bit like I talk about humility, but it is kind of high end. And it's expensive to do what we do when it comes to the very thin margin of being able to, like when I talked to the Dugans, one of the things I really wanted to establish just so that this business can run successfully, I was like, we can't have coupons. We can't run things that make anybody else ever think like, oh, this can be a marginalized product. So what we did do was try to be able to utilize that aspect of community and showed we spotlighted a lot of the creativity that we had within the regulars that came. And so for Facebook, for instance, caption contests work amazingly. It also helped show a little bit of the personality of our product. We're not a giant corporation. We're silly, we're irreverent. We just take what we do seriously, but we don't take ourselves seriously. So we used a lot of caption contests. We did a lot of submission-based things. And then we also utilized a little bit when it came to pushes that we wanted, and once we had been a little bit more established, Facebook does have a pretty easy-to-use ad-based program. So we did a little bit of Facebook ads, but even when we did that, we did it based upon, they have something unique where it's basically, your friend likes this. So just showing the association of particular people to our brand rather than saying something that looks overtly like an ad. I hope that helps. But yeah, basically just a lot of stuff to be able to portray personality and let people respond to that.
Perfect. That was perfect. And I think we do have one more because you're so full of information. Let's take one more.
I just fake it very well.
I'm a big fan. I have a question for you, though. What kind of effort do you spend on a weekly basis on your social media efforts, and then how do you measure the success?
It's a really good, we got a lot of good questions. One of the things that especially at the very beginning, we would post and then watch. Don't just post and leave it. I don't just assume just because, I heard the jokes earlier about, post stuff about cats. I'm not going to just post an image of a cat with a cup of coffee, which I think I've done that before, actually.
You should.
I
People
think
love
I have.
animals.
We've done a squirrel, we've done a dog, cats are right in line with that. But we post it and we watch. And then we also see the quality of the feedback. Are people just typing, ha, 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 or is it making people interested to know, oh, how'd you do that? Oh, what's that all about? And so you'll see a lot more of educational-based posts and stuff now, just because of the fact that we've seen a lot of feedback. And that's the simplest thing I'd recommend, actually, because there's a lot of other algorithms and things out there that have been mentioned today that are great tools for knowing exactly where your traffic's coming from, where it's going to, how to be able to get sales out of that. And, of course, as your business grows, do that. But at the very beginning, what's getting responses? What are you posting out there that you feel represents you well and then is getting the kind of response that you want? And that's what we've definitely found, and that's one of the reasons why we offer more classes now, to be able to educate customers that they can come in for a free class, because on Twitter and Facebook, people are like, I love that class. Do more of them. And once again, we're like, all right. So we did, and it worked out fine, and it's been better. Thanks for bringing me back to that. Yeah, it was, at the very beginning, I would spend, on average, about 20 hours, 25 hours of my personal time. And that was, and one of the attitudes that I had is if our shop wasn't full, get it full with Twitter. If I don't need to make a drink, then I'm going to tweet until someone needs one. And it worked. We have some of our regulars, specifically a guy I remember, he was tweeting about how he had this horrible cup of coffee from some unknown brand.
Starbucks.
And so I tweeted to him. I was like, oh, you're right around the corner. You should stop by sometime. And he responded with, all right, automated tweet bot. I'm like, I wish robots could make coffee this good, but no, come on in. And he did, and he's a regular now. And that happened about 11 months ago, and he's still coming in. He brings friends and whatnot. But it's going to be, now as I've gotten busier and my responsibilities have expanded, less time has been dedicated to that, but just for a short period of time. But now, as we are at our 1-year anniversary, we're ramping up a lot of new efforts, and I'm getting off bar a lot more, which I miss because I love pouring lattes and other things like that and talking to customers. But when you're rock and rolling, you gotta market it. So.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Jeff.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Yeah.
Everyone give him a hand.